So, hey everyone, my name's Brian Campbell, and I am the lead for the Trees Around the Globe student research campaign. And today we are focusing on the Asia Pacific region for Globe. And we have a special guest with us where we're gonna, talk to you for a couple minutes. So, would you please introduce yourself and your position within the Globe program?
Well, I am Desh Bandhu. I am PhD in plant ecology, and my thesis was on forest productivity. And as I worked on plants productivity, the forest ecology, the soil science, so this tree campaign is very near and dear to me. I am the coordinator for the Globe Regional Asia Pacific Coordination Office, and I am associated with Globe now more than 20 years. And it is me. Yeah.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Desh, for being here. So that's great. I love that, your training, your education is in, forestry. So that's perfect for the trees campaign. So in your eyes, why is it important for Globe participants? I know you're with the coordinator for the Asia Pacific region, but for all over the Globe community in 126 countries, especially though, why is it important for the participants who are in the Globe Asian Pacific region to be part of the Trees Around the Globe student research campaign?
It is very important because there are 19 countries, Globe countries in the Asia Pacific region. And out of that, 3 countries are the mountain countries, like Nepal, Mongolia, and Bhutan now. And there is always pressure on the mountain ecosystem. So the trees are very, very important for the mountain areas. And the most of other countries, either they are island countries or countries having a lot of quite a long sea coast. Now, it is very important to have plants and trees along with the coastal area because we have seen tsunami. We are looking for these typhoons and cyclones. And if there are trees, then that helps the community, the people, and reduce the damage to the environment and the property. So it is very important that in our region, tree planting and the tree protocol and the tree campaign is very, very important. I know in some countries, like in Philippines, there are 20 cyclones every year, typhoon. And like countries like Palau, Marshall Island, Micronesia, they have regular, sea disturbances, and on their coastal, if you have trees, then that is very important. And even those countries, there is a lot of deforestation, and tree plantation is very important. I'm not going to go into the details, the reason for deforestation, but the deforestation is at an alarming rate. And tree campaign, planting of trees, is very, very significant, and it's good that Globe is working on this, and then very important to the Asia Pacific region.
Yes, thank you. That's so important because you touched on a couple subjects, that we've been talking about in the campaign, from deforestation, and with the Asia Pacific region, that's great because, as you mentioned, there are those mountainous terrains where there's trees everywhere. There's those long coastal areas, that you see trees as well. So it's not just, one environment in the Asia Pacific region. You have lots of different biomes, lots of different, locations where trees are part of. So yeah, and I didn't realize that there, 20 cyclones, typhoons that hit that area like every year, and that's devastating. But to the trees, for the most part. But it's something that that the people in the Asia Pacific region deal with, and having that knowledge of the trees in their areas is super important.
When there was tsunami a couple of years back, due to the disturbances in Indonesia, The whole of the west eastern coast of India and Sri Lanka, Thailand, there have been several thousand people died and there was loss of property. And if there would have been trees along with the coastal areas, then this loss would have been reduced. So this is very important to have trees along with the coastal areas in Asia Pacific region.
Yes. And that brings us to our next question. Do you recommend students and teachers in the Globe Asia Pacific region work with both the globe data for the tree height, which we're talking about, and then also land cover? Because as you mentioned, there's lots of different types of land cover, across Asia Pacific region.
Because the tree height and the tree, circumference is like how thick the tree is. That gives the indication of the biomass. That gives the indication of the growth of the plant. If we have to compare the growth of plant in different regions, different biomes, different climates, then we have to take height and the girth of the plant into consideration. And I think the height is the one which the students enjoys a lot because they look at tree which is 4 feet, maybe next year it could be 5 or 6 feet. So they compare that data for a long time and they learn how the plant is growing and how the plant is becoming more and more fatter, you can say, how
Yeah.
the circumference is increasing. These two factors contribute to the knowledge of the biomass, the carbon which is captured by the plant, what we can say carbon cycle. If we have to learn, then we have to look into the height of the plant and the biomass of the plant, which we can really find out from this. And height play very important role in this matter.
Yeah. So one of the things that we do with the Trees Around the Globe student research campaign is we really emphasize the need for students to, work with their teachers and other students around the globe program, on student projects. And one of those, and I know the Asia Pacific region is great with students submitting to the Globe International Virtual, Student Symposia, the IVSS. So how important is that for students to work on research projects, related to trees and land cover and carbon cycle, things like that, and submit them to the Globe IVSS?
I give you one example, couple of examples, 3 examples, maybe many more. Like in India, one of the state in Telangana, there is a project like every student planting 1 tree. And they aim to plant 25,000 trees by the end of the year. They contributed a Globe Star, which is one of the latest Globe Star. And the students are planting trees. In Vietnam, in the month of April, the Globe Vietnam, in association with the American Embassy in Hanoi, had a long month, a month of April for the tree planting and the tree, what they call it, the Globe Tree Month or something like that.
Yeah.
In Philippines, Bicol region, which is a very fragile region, they have aimed to plant 1 million trees in 5 years. So these are some of the 3 examples which I give you. And there are a couple more examples in different countries and different areas, like something happening in Sri Lanka, India, many countries like in Korea, Vietnam, Taiwan, so many countries. Okay, what I'm trying to make you understand that all these activities, all these research lead to the project formulation. They prepare report, they develop posters and things, and IVSS is a good opportunity for them for their showcase. They send the proposal considered by GIO, and I am very proud that the contribution of our region, Asia Pacific region, to IVSS is very significant. Quite a number of projects are contributed, and number of them, they are also related with the plants, and also during this campaign and other things. Like when I remember when you give the webinar to the Asia Pacific region, there were 93 participants for 8 countries, 8 or 9 countries. And
Yeah,
that was significant. I don't think you have so many number in other regions.
yeah, that's great.
So there is
Yeah,
not a,
yeah, that's
there's
super
a great,
important. Something that you said that's super important, that these the research projects that can be submitted to IVSS are very plentiful in the Asia Pacific region. We love that. And then also it's great because these research projects are the things that produce bigger things happening. There's been folks, students who have submitted IVSS projects and then have taken their research to their local, environmental officials or agencies, where they can then, for instance, say, oh, I discovered this while I was out there. You guys need to take a look at this. You got to take a look at my research, and there's something that we need to do in our local area. Whether it's mitigating something like invasive species, or someone is seeing an area that's deforested, or people are noticing that there's certain trees that just aren't growing in certain locations. And these are all things that can be taken to local officials, the city planners, people like that, who can really take that research that the students are doing with the GLOW program, and then they can take it to the next level.
Brian, it is around 2 years now due to COVID, quite outdoor activities and the travel is banned. Otherwise, what happened that every year we have 1 or 2 science festivals, like what we call Asia Pacific Science Festival. And in these festival, the students, they showcase, present their project, the posters, and quite a number of them, they are on the trees and then subjects related to the campaign. And I remember the projects from Philippines, from Thailand, from India, from Nepal, which were presented in the Republic of Korea. Many of them, they were relating to the trees. But unfortunately, for the last 2 years, they could not showcase. But
Mm.
certainly, when the situation improves, they contribute to the IVSS, and also they show in the science festivals. We have a number of exchange activities in our region where the students and the teachers from one country go to the other countries. We have expeditions, like we have expedition, Lake Pokhara expedition, expedition to the Maldives, to the sea, expedition to Sri Lanka, and also to Thailand, where we have opportunity to go and see some of the projects, and in the visit to the schools to see globe activities in the schools. So
Mhm.
actually the tree and the biosphere is one of the important component in our activities in Asia Pacific region. And I appreciate the help which you and Peter give us through the webinars and
Sure.
keeping the interest of the students alive. And they are contributing quite significantly, working seriously on these issues.
Yes, yes, thank you so much. So, are there any specific regions or locations, I should say, are there any specific locations in the Asia, Pacific region that you recommend students focusing potentially their research on? Are there areas where, I know you mentioned deforestation earlier. Are there specific areas where trees are flourishing, where you see lots of trees growing at, abundant rates? Also, are there areas, that you think students can, do some research where trees are in jeopardy with the deforestation, or just blight or something like that?
Like the slopes of the Himalayas, like in Nepal, the deforestation, quite a large deforestation in India. Bhutan, I'm not sure how it is, but very poor tree cover in Mongolia. And many of these countries, like in Philippines, due to the natural calamities in many countries, island countries. So there is a need for that. And then I think once the globe is working in these areas, and then uh, making studies, and then seeing the impact, how plants removal, the land cover removal, is making impact on the overall environment. And I think, but unfortunately, for the last 2 years, they had no opportunity to go out. Mostly, we recommend them to work from home or something
Yeah,
where you are safe and
yeah,
not in the field. Even this tree plantation in Bicol region is affected due to COVID, and also they had super cyclone. So some of these activities get affected. But certainly there is a need in many countries for studies and also to develop the action to plant the trees, to look into how it is happening, working with the community, because even in Himalayas, biomass is used for as a fuel for the energy requirement. So in the remote areas, in many countries, like so, still there is a need for these tree plantations and that to learn about the tree, the campaign, how this land, and also interesting is how to compare with the Landsat data,
yeah,
because I remember and to look into with the land cover accuracy index, like how accurate the data is. Means like you do the field work, you collect 100 samples, and then, but when you look the satellite, then you see how many sample it shows.
yeah,
What is called the accuracy index or something. you know. And then we found that in some countries that is something like 65%. So still that gives very exciting to the students to compare details and the information and do research and ultimately developing close cooperation. And also from our region, they are looking to cooperate with other regions also.
mm,
And I am hopeful that when the situation will improve and the travel will be open, there will be more, opportunities for them to work with other regions also.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, the COVID-19 pandemic has really thrown a snag in a lot of things, and we're grateful, for the Asia Pacific region participants, that they stayed safe. They're staying safe, during the pandemic, and that you said, you mentioned to them, stay safe. That's the first priority. If you're going to do observations and measurements and some research, do that around your local area, and definitely stay safe. So last question here. Thank you so much for all the good information. So last question is here. Do you have anything else you'd like to mention to the Globe Asia Pacific region participants about the Trees Around the Globe Student Research Campaign?
Yeah, like we had 25 webinars during this COVID time. And I think that is quite a good number. And we touch various topics and others, and even plants. We had 3 or 4 of them on the tree and biosphere plants and things like that. The message is that work, uh, don't talk much on only of science, do science. Means like most of the people sitting in the science, most of the scientists sitting in the offices, they do the science administration. Very few of them, they do science like Brian, maybe. Yeah. So what I mean to like, it is important that if you want to be a scientist, do science. And science should include the environment around you. It could be plants, it could be water body, it could be sea. But in our region, the plants and trees are very important, very significant, because the livelihood of the millions of people depends on the trees and the product which come from the tree. The food, the water, help in conservation of environment, reducing pollution, many benefits they come. And I think uh, our region is quite alive on that, working on this. And I'm sure that after COVID time, there will be many more and much more activities. And I think that is all what we can say.
Yeah.
If you have
Great.
any
Thank
specific question.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Dr. Dash. And this has been great because it really brought a perspective of, you being the regional coordinator for the Asia Pacific region for Globe, in that, the trees campaign is important, but in the big picture of things, understanding trees and land cover and carbon cycle in your environment helps us really to understand the bigger picture. Something that's happening in, say, Vietnam may not have a great impact in someone who's living in the United States, but we can learn from that because our planet's changing. We have a dynamic planet. Climate change is a thing across the entire planet. Trees serve as an indicator to climate change. So, just because something's happening in another part of the world where someone isn't, doesn't mean it won't affect them in some way. So that's one of the things we try to bring with the Trees Around the Globe Student Research Campaign is,
And also, okay, go ahead.
no, after you.
And also the relationship with the soil, with the plant is important for the
Yeah.
conservation of soil. And also planting indigenous species,
Yes.
local species, and food, which the trees which can give fruits and the food. So there have been many campaigns, and I think the students enjoy that. And your campaign have been very helpful, promoting them, pushing them, and then I think we will see better results after the COVID.
Yes. That's perfect. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.